Hi, everyone. Welcome to another amazing topic of conversation. I would like to thank my sponsors, South Florida PBS, and their new immerse exhibit, DaVinci. So please go to their website and see it. It is really amazing. If you need an office, even if it's just for one day, a virtual office, or for 1 hour, Alexa's Workspace can help you with that. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, Hermosa Mujer will help you create your own virtual boutique. And I really want to welcome this group of people, especially since this is our last conversation of the year. I really want to honor a group of professionals that have come together to praise, to enhance, and to give us learning lessons from people over 90. So welcome to the team of Wisdom of the Century. Pipe, Sandra, Meryl, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lens.
So each one comes from a different background. Like, I'm just gonna say a little bit. Pipe is an amazing, recognized photographer. Sandra is a PhD in clinical psychology. Merle has a whole outreach and educational background on the Holocaust documentary. So, and we're missing Jenny, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us. But you came together to do this project. So I want to hear from each one of you. What was the inspiration behind this? So, Pipe, you want to start?
I think Sandra should start, then we'll follow her lead, since she's the brains behind the idea.
So, Sandra.
Thank you, Pipe. Thank you, Gladys, for having us here. It's an honor. So this project began for me in my mind's eye 6 years ago, but it really came to fruition and development 3 years when all of this team came together. And the inspiration really was when I was working in a senior living community and talking to many of the residents, many of them who were around the age of 90, and listening to their stories, listening to their words of wisdom, their quotes, really touched my heart. And I kept wondering, how can we preserve this? How can we preserve their inner as well as their outer beauty for future generations? And then that was the idea. And I met originally with Nicole Cassin. We talked about, she was the early inspiration, the early person I reached out as a graphic designer. She was unable to continue the work as a graphic designer, but she worked with the icon. And through her, she introduced me to Pipe. So, but I have to backtrack a little bit because the first person I reached out to was Merle. So when I had the idea, I called Merle. We had met through the Holocaust Documentation Center many, many years ago, and I always admired her work through the Holocaust documentation. Then when she started doing legacy work, she actually came to my house to do a legacy work. And when I thought about how do we capture these lessons, I thought Merle legacy, author, writer. So I called her up and I said, Merle, I have this crazy idea. How about we interview 100 people over the age of 100 and call it Wisdom of the Century? And she was in the middle of your second or third book?
Second. Oh, yeah, my third book. Right.
She was in the middle of the third book and she said, let me think about it. And I think within a day, she called me back and she said, I think 100 over 100 is going to be a little bit too difficult. And how about if we do 90 over 90? We can still capture the wisdom of the century. We interviewed 90 over 90. I said, amazing, wonderful. I will get back to you, Merle. And 3 months later, I got back to her. And in these 3 months is when I was doing a lot of background research, met Nicole, met Pipe, started just thinking. And when Merle said yes, I knew this was going to happen. I knew once I had her yes. And then when I met Pipe and Pipe said yes, I knew we had our team. And then Jenny joined in as Nicole didn't pursue, was unable to continue with us. Jenny had worked with Merle, and Jenny's just a brilliant, brilliant designer. So that's how the inspiration and the team came together. But I would love Merle because both. I mean, Merle, I'm not sitting next to Merle, but Pipe, I want to hear both. Merle came up with all of the questions and did all of the write-up. So a lot of that inspiring what we asked them came from her work. And Pipe was the only one in our team that met every single one of our participants. So they
Because
have much more to.
he literally captured in a picture the essence. So Meryl, can I leave you for last
Sure,
so
of
that you
course.
can tell us about the questions and everything? And
Of
we want to
course.
hear from Pipe. And
Um,
like literally behind the scenes or behind the camera?
Yeah, I've always been specialized in photography using natural lighting and a natural scenario for each person that I photograph. So it always allows me to tell the story of their life, so a lot of their personality through the images. And when Sandra told me about the project, I knew that I was going to be going into their own spaces, their own homes of these people over the age of 90. And I got very curious at the beginning and throughout the whole project to see what is it that people feel a connection to when they are over the age of 90, to see if there is differences or if we keep having the same interests, with the passing of time. So to be able to go to each of the interviews, either with Sandra or Meryl, was seriously one of the most enriching things in my life. Every moment, every story, every word of these people, that they come from different backgrounds, but they are all in Florida. They always left us filled with inspiration to either Sandra and me or Merle and me, and we kept talking about the whole interview in the car. And we would get to the point that we had to separate after the ride, and we would be like, okay, but there's still so much more to talk. Every single time we wanted to keep on like driving to keep on about each interview. And it was just beautiful to see all of these people. Some of them have more active lives, some others are more quiet, are less social, some others are more social. But it's just beautiful to see how, well, all of them, they do have something in common, that they are either close to a family member or family members or a neighbor or someone, but there is always someone around them, and it's just amazing. And to be able to photograph them, it's different, obviously, to photograph someone that is older, because it's mobility becomes an issue with younger people. Of course, tell them, oh, come here, sit here, get on top of this, or come and lean. But in these occasions, I had to be like as precise as possible and don't make them move so much. Of course, some of them even dance and they jump, but most of them, they are more, of course, quiet people. And it was just amazing to photograph them in their space, in their home, and to be able to capture through that a lot of their essence in an image that I think was achieved.
I think that was better than just having them go to a studio and all the pictures I think that's what really captured the whole thing, the magic behind of where they were.
Yes, for sure. And they knew that we were gonna go there for the interview. So some people dressed up, some others were very casual, but I've always seen that in my photo shoots. And I never like to push people to be something that they are not, or tell them or guide them, because I really want people to be themselves. So if you want to put makeup and do your hair and put like a particular dress on, that's perfect. But if someone doesn't want to pursue that, I don't want them to do that. So that was perfectly achieved, because every single person received us the way that they are. And I think that's visible throughout the whole book, and I love that to be able to see who they truly are, just being themselves.
Meryl, your turn.
You know, when I
The
looked at,
questions behind it, the journey, like, how was it for you?
for me, I had worked with many older individuals in my life, so it wasn't, it was a little different, I think, than it might have been for Sandra and Pipe, because I'm actually much closer in age to the people I was interviewing. So that was interesting for me. And as I turned 80, I'm realizing that these people really inspired me to know what's possible. You know, some of my friends, in fact, I was just talking to a friend today who said she's about to turn 80, and she said, I'm ignoring the fact I don't want to think about it. And I feel so differently, because I've seen how these people are living such full and rich lives. At 90, we walked into a woman's home. She was 104 and a half. She was she lived by herself, had makeup on, jewelry, dressed beautifully, sharp as can be. And
Wow.
so for me, it was really an inspiration. I mean, there was one person's home that we went to where I asked if their mother was home, because I thought that the woman was actually the daughter of this person, because she was 90 at the time. She was almost 99, and she just looked amazing. So for me, it was just beyond everything else, really inspirational. In terms of the questions, I just thought about what these people would want to do in terms of leaving their legacy. Like, what kinds of questions would be appropriate, so that when they told their stories, they would be things that they could pass along. We were really focused on getting their words of wisdom. That was important. So there were some people who were able to just rattle off. I mean, I remember one person like just gave us 15 different words of wisdom in a row. And I was like astounded that she could think so quickly. And that was another thing. They answered the questions, and some of them were not easy questions to answer. So some of the questions were things like, what was the most significant world event in your life? What do you attribute your longevity to?
And they all lived through what? 3 wars, all of the wars.
Yeah. And so also we had people represented from 20 different countries. So their backgrounds were different. So someone from the United States might have a very different, significant worldview than someone, for example, who had to leave because of the Castro Revolution. So there was a lot of just, the experiences were so varied. And like Pipe said, there were some people who, I mean, we have one man who retired at 96 from being a physician. And when I tried to call him last week, he wasn't at home. He was still at the office, because he's still going into his office to make sure his patients, his former patients, are comfortable with their new patients. I mean, really. It's so it was a lot of that. There was one, Pipe mentioned dancing. There was one woman who was from Colombia, where Pipe's from. And when they got to talking, he just casually, she talked about how much she loved to dance. And during COVID, she wasn't able to dance anymore. And she was home and really was missing it. And Pipe said, did you do the salsa? And she said, yes. And I said,
And they started dancing?
Well, I said, would you two dance for me? And she said, wait, let me go get my dancing shoes. She went in the
my-
bedroom, got her shoes, and came out, and they danced the salsa. It was amazing. And she was so happy. You could just see how much joy that brought her. So each one had a different experience and shared really from their hearts in a very personal way. Many of them said that they were really nervous before we got there, and a few of them said they didn't sleep the night before. But as soon as we started, you could just see that they relaxed and were willing to talk and share. And that being said, for me, one of the greatest joys was seeing so many of them at the launch and seeing how proud they were that their pictures were hanging in the exhibition and that they have a page of their story and their words of wisdom that is written down in a book. I mean, for them, it made such a huge difference. So I feel really gratified in knowing that we were able to accomplish that for them.
Was there a common denominator? Like, was there a common link that all of them shared with you that you found?
Well, when I think that the issue of what we attribute their longevity to was twofold. So many of them said genetics, and then the other half said good health habits, walking to exercising, eating well. But above all, I think family and connection was the one piece I would say that was the greatest connector for all of them. Would you agree, Sandra?
Yes, and I would add to that I found, if you agree, optimism. I think we found the
Right.
connections, and
Optimism?
all of them were are optimistic and hopeful. So I found that also as a
Absolutely.
common denominator, more so than some of the habits, but yes.
Yeah.
How about
Was
you?
there anything else, like, for example, a message that unite all of them? Like, like when you interview them, that what was their legacy? Was there a common legacy from all of them?
I don't know, maybe it's different. I think one of the beauty and gifts of this book is legacies. They all share something different and something the same. So it shows to the commonality of the human experience, how we have all gone through periods of happiness and joy and pain and suffering. So the commonalities of the human experience, but at the same time, they each gave us different lessons. And I'll give you an example. Just this week, I have the book at home, and just this week, I was struggling with something, and I was just going through the book, and I saw this one quote on the book, and I just thought to myself, this is exactly what I needed to hear right now.
Which
So,
was, you remember the quote?
Yes, let go of, you cannot change the mistakes of the past. You can only look forward and see towards the future. And that was, I was struggling. I should have not said this. I should have not done this. And then all of a sudden it's like, this is what so that is the beauty, that there are so many words of wisdom and so varied legacies that, like I said, it's the commonality of the human experience, but at the same time, the diversity. But that's, for me, I don't know, Pipe or Merle, if you...
Was there anyone that really stood up to you? A message that really stood out through the whole process? I know that all of them had something to give, and all their stories, you learned something, but was there one in particular, or the message of someone that said something that really stood out?
I'm talking a lot, but something comes up when I'm hearing you, and it's very, not one in particular, but all of them. Their generosity and hospitality. That stands out through every single one. They were generous with their time, generous with their space, hospitable and friendly. And it just left us with full hearts. And that, I think, was something that what Merle mentioned, that connection, no?
Yeah. Pipe, you talk.
You're in mute.
Pipe, you're in mute.
You're in mute, Pipe.
I guess I wanted to add on what Meryl mentioned before, that one of the biggest lessons for the whole team is to see all of these people full of life at their age and full of projects. Well, many of them, but there is lives that there are personalities that are so varied. Like there is people my age that I hear them saying, "Oh, you know, Pipe, I'm so old," and I'm like, they're
I
not
don't have time or something.
in their 40s or even their 30s, and they're saying that they're too old already. And I'm like, what? Like, I remember one of the ladies we walked into, and she was literally looking much, much younger than her age. And she was 99. It's a different one than Meryl's was mentioning. And when we walked in, we were like astonished that they were close. And then we asked her, like, wow, but you look so good. And then she's like, yeah, but you know, I've been feeling like with like some headaches and dizzy lately, but I'm pregnant, she says. So even like the sense of humor and that goes along with what Sandra is saying, optimism and like being like, well, laughing at your life and at yourself. And that same lady, we asked her throughout the interview if she felt, well, not only to her, but to many of them, if she felt old. And she was 5 months away from turning 100. And she goes, well, actually, now that I'm going to turn 100 in March, I've started feeling old.
Only until then.
But then she goes to say, actually, no, I don't feel old. That's amazing. You know, I guess optimism, and also, what's the other thing I wanted to say? And that there is, to be enthusiastic of whatever you pursue in life, like, but do it with enthusiasm. It can be just stay home and read a book, but be enthusiastic about that. Or it can be to go out and see friends, be enthusiastic about that, or to garden, or to cook, or to do whatever. I think that goes along with optimism. So just to be enthusiastic about things. There is another lady that she was 94, 95, and she'd be saying to us that she lives with her daughter, and the daughter is in her late 60s, from what I remember, and she'd say that she's the one pushing her daughter to go out and to get ready. Let's go out, the 90-plus-year-old one. So I guess enthusiasm and optimism was a common denominator throughout the interviews.
It sounds like the love of life.
Yeah, there was that. One of the things that
we lost them.
They wanted to fix the
camera, and we lost them. Pipe, while we get them back, I know that you have the book with you.
Yes.
Can you show us the book?
Look at this.
Wow. We have them back.
And let me see if I can open.
Yes. Okay, we lost you. You're back. So we're looking at the picture, and you have your camera turned. You have your camera there. So people showing us the book. And it's really an amazing, amazing work. And lessons taught, especially to this generation that didn't have, for example, the technology, that were not connected in this way, and the love of life, because it all sounds like the love of life. So, Meryl, we're missing your point of view.
Right. So one of the things that struck me, there were people who were really accomplished and who were still, for example, several who were still, one man in particular just wrote a philosophy book and published it. So many of them were still very involved in their art and actually doing. And then there were other people who, for example, one woman I remember, she was a secretary before she got married. She got married, stopped working, had children, was a stay-at-home mom, had very few activities. And we walked out of the house, and I remember standing at her driveway and saying to Pipe, I don't know, it's like, she didn't have a very exciting life. And Pipe looked at me and said, Merle, did you see how happy she was? And it was in that moment that I realized that, I was probably being judgmental, but who are we to say? And for some people, just being with their family and not accomplishing anything is more than enough to make them happy. And so that was a huge lesson. I think of all the things I learned, that was probably for me the biggest, because in terms of the words of wisdom, I've lived a long life already. And so a lot of what they said was not new to me, but this really struck me.
I think for me, different from Merle, a lot of the words of wisdom were new. A lot. And for me, it changed my whole worldview and my whole perspective about life. It was such a life-changing project, just to see the trajectories of life and hear from their childhood or the things that they value, and how important, I think, for all of them, being part of something, how important family, how important community. A lot of them are involved with either church or synagogues or community. Many, if not most of them, volunteer activities, and charities are huge. So just knowing that how we are all part of something, and we all at any age in our life can contribute to the people we love and to the world. And it just changed my whole worldview of how I would live my life.
And for me, also reinforcing optimism. Like, seriously, most or many or most probably have lived through a lot of tragedy moments in their lives,
Hardships.
their times, and they are optimistic, and they are at this age and with a full heart and happy and living with enthusiasm again. As I mentioned before, there was one lady, she was a Holocaust survivor, and she was just like so warm, so loving, so happy. And she mentioned in the interview that that God didn't give her a nice childhood, but that has blessed her with a beautiful life as an elder. And just her the beauty in her face, and we're like, wow, because her story, yeah, as many others in the book, is just been like upsides and downs, and now they are living their best life at their age and welcoming us in as strangers, for strangers, into their homes, and sharing with us like all these beautiful words that we happily gathered in the book.
Where can people get the book?
The book is currently being sold through our website, wisdomofthecentury.com, and it will soon be available. There it is, the beautiful design, beautiful book. and it will soon be available in Amazon and some retail stores. So by next year, we hope to have it, but for now, it's available through wisdomofthecentury.com. Do we have
And
one more minute? I would like to add something that I don't think we
of
talked about. It's
course,
okay. We talked a lot about the participants, and we talked a lot about our experience with the book. But one of the most beautiful things was also our relationship, the team members. How Pipe and Jenny and Merle and I, the synchronicity, the chemistry, the lessons between all of us turned out to be a magical process. In addition to the book, when we, like Pipe mentioned, we finished interviews, and each of us had, and I think that's one of the beauties. We talked about one person, but we each had something that, like for Merle, what stuck out for her, that the one she mentioned, like for Pipe, one thing stuck out, for Merle, something else, for
correct.
me,
Each one
something
saw
else.
it different.
So sharing that between us, sharing those moments, sharing those spaces, sharing those rides, and the process of the book was such a gift for us in addition to what we gained. So just wanted to add that because that was such a beautiful process and journey.
And you forgot to say to follow you on Instagram, Wisdom of the Century.
Okay.
So
No,
I want to finish
thank
this
you.
and thank you all of you with a quote that you have from Franz Kafka. Anyone who keeps the ability to see beauty never grows old.
It's beautiful.
And I think that summarizes the journey that you all did, and in bringing us all this wisdom from all those people that literally have a whole life to share. So thank you so much. I think this was the perfect ending to 2024. And to everyone, happy holidays. May there be peace very soon, and wishing you, everyone, the best and be safe. Thank you, and until
Thank you for
next.
having us over.
That is.
Thank you.